Howdy, I'm Clay Kalmbach with Bear Builds, and today I'm going to show you how I turn this 2x6 and this sheet of plywood into this sleek, modern, low-profile bed. Let's get started. So the majority of this bed will be made up of this sheet of plywood. I'll be using it to cut 3 vertical supports that'll act as the legs, and then also 10 slats that'll actually hold the mattress itself. When it comes to making length cuts, I use an 8-foot baseboard to guide my circular saw because I know the edge is perfectly straight. I'm making a 6-inch cut, and I need to account for the 1 1/4 inch gap between the straight edge and the blade, which is why I'm measuring at 7 1/4 inches. The remaining plywood ended up being 77 3/4 inches long by 48 inches wide. I made 10 cuts at 4 inches wide, and these pieces will be the slats. I took the vertical supports that'll become the legs and trimmed them down to length. I also trimmed down the 2x6, which will encase the legs and serve as extra support and decoration. Next, I moved to my table saw and basically turned the 2x6s into 2x2s. To attach the slats to the legs, I had to make 2-inch half laps. This process was very tedious, and I thought that I could save time by making all of the necessary cuts simultaneously. This didn't work out, so I had to cut each slot into each piece individually. The slats were too long to go onto the table saw, so I decided that I would make multiple relief cuts using my circular saw. Cutting with my circular saw wasn't perfect, so I had to clean up my cuts using a chisel. After all of my half laps were cut, I wanted to do a dry fitting to make sure that all of my pieces fit. It was important to me that this bed was easy to assemble and disassemble, since I will be taking it with me to College Station in about a month. This is also the part of the build where you can start to see why I'm calling it the pergola bed. The plywood supports needed to fit into the 2x2s, so I made a 5/8 inch dado to hold them. The side pieces needed to have their dados squared off, so I got a Forstner bit and drilled out the excess and cleaned it up with a chisel. The next step was assembling the supports and the 2x2s. For the top, I wanted to add a little design idea that I got from Chris Salamoni. I got a 1/2 inch dowel to cover up the screw holes, and then used a flush trim saw to make sure that they didn't stand out. I sanded the dowels for good measure and then taped off the bases for paint. I didn't need a whole lot, so I just got a sample of Ocean Abyss and Bear Marquee Flat. While the paint dried, I cut the corners off the bottoms of the slats. This is another design aspect for mostly aesthetic, but it's also so I don't murder my ankles while I walk around at night. There's also some ink left over by the manufacturer, so I took about a blade's width of material off of the ends. I added 2 coats of Varathane satin water-based polyurethane to protect the paint, and the bed was officially done. So that wraps up this project. Please be sure to check out my channel for the rest of my builds, and be sure to find me on social media, which I'll have linked below. Once again, thanks for watching, and please stick around for more content.